As you probably well know, the BBC is an utter propaganda outfit, and here this news shows that its propaganda mission is taking on new heights. BBC suspends job cuts to focus on coronavirus reporting. Reform plan to save £40 million on ice as broadcaster plays central role in reporting epidemic. This is quite interesting because, of course, there's been this whole story about counter-disinformation units, Facebook, social media, the way in which the algorithms are being manipulated by the government as well as the social media companies in order to control all of the information that you see on the coronavirus. They're basically saying that they're trying to get rid of conspiracy theory and fake news, but what that really means is anyone who comes out with any sort of a dissenting view is not welcome on the internet. The BBC has suspended a sweeping reform of its news operations to concentrate on its public broadcasting role during the coronavirus crisis, temporarily saving the jobs of hundreds of journalists. Make it sound like it's brilliant news. Director General Tony Hall said the proposed £40 million worth of cuts, which would lead to shows being taken off air and 450 job losses, was to be put on ice. One senior BBC manager said the corporation has one priority right now, and nobody has time or space for consultation meetings or union negotiations. The plans to overhaul BBC News radically were unveiled earlier this year as the corporation sought to cut costs and faced political threats to overhaul its £3.7 billion funding from a licence fee levied on households. The broadcaster also intended to use the coming months to roll out a programme to start charging the licence fee to those over 75 who were previously exempted. But coronavirus has thrown both reforms into disarray, with the BBC announcing it would give over 75s another 2 months before it started sending them bills for the licence fee. Well, that's not exactly throwing the reform into disarray, is it? It's just a 2-month delay. Pressure on the BBC from Prime Minister Boris Johnson's administration, which has seen the corporation as anti-Brexit and in need of a shake-up, has also faded, with government figures sensing that the broadcaster would play a crucial role in keeping the public safe in the months ahead. Well, to be honest, the BBC did so much to promote the Conservative Party. I mean, it's surprising that they're not more grateful to them for, well, committing fraud on the British people. Downing Street has relaxed a boycott of the Today programme, the BBC's flagship morning radio show. Today's key interview slot at 8:10 now regularly features senior members of the government talking about measures to combat the coronavirus. Lee Kane, Mr Johnson's communication chief, said there was a turbulent period ahead for the country and Downing Street would no longer be restrictive with access to officials. They've got other fish to fry right now, said one BBC executive, but they can see the ratings and they know they need the BBC to be their key platform, as in for propaganda. The BBC has cleared its radio and TV schedules for government messaging on coronavirus, with the government's daily briefings aired live on BBC One and the News Channel as part of special broadcasts each day. On Monday night, Mr Johnson's address to the nation announcing the coronavirus lockdown was watched by 27 million Britons, one of the most watched live broadcasts in history, with about 18 million people watching on the BBC. The most high-profile casualty of the restructure proposals was the Victoria Derbyshire Daily Current Affairs television show, which was to be cut from the BBC Two schedule. Staff from the programme have been reassigned onto the news channel in recent days, with host Victoria Derbyshire fronting BBC News shows about coronavirus. So it's basically pure propaganda, and they're actually saying so. The BBC has cleared its radio and TV schedules for government messaging on coronavirus. It was doing government messaging since day one, let's be honest.